One of the major changes that I've faced is accounts that aren't being used consistently, not being able to make the edits or make adjustments which previously were.
There's a lot of myths and a lot of people talk about stuff that maybe worked 2-3 years ago. Can you tell us some of the stuff that was working that's not working now?
In terms of things that's working, one of the biggest mistakes I see is people missing what I would call the basic essentials. I see it all the time.
I want to know more about the country dancing knockbacks. Like, what was your approach?
I was an ugly duckling. I've had a lot of work.
So today's podcast, I'm going to be joined by Mark Slorance, good friend of mine, known him for a number of years now, and we're going to talk about local SEO, getting reviews, and a bunch of other interesting stuff. So listen in and make sure you do like, comment, and subscribe.
So, another video, and in this video we're going to be talking about review cards, which I've got here, GMB listings and local SEO. And I've got my good friend, well, I use that term good and friend very loosely, but Mr.
Probably a nice thing you've ever said to me. It's good to see how it changes. But no, thanks for having me on. Great to be here. Loving the new podcast studio. Very, very fancy. Love the new chairs. Looking great.
Chairs, and yours stable enough.
Aye, built it myself, tools myself. Hopefully no guarantees, but it's took my weight, so it's all right.
So if anyone isn't aware who Slorry is, a few years back we done the video in the graveyard where you had your X amount of phones and we're running around doing direction requests and all that to map listings. And obviously you've been messing around with map listings for a number of years now, taking them abroad with you, taking them on holiday, wherever, with you to do your stuff, obviously to try and boost your GMB or GBP listings. So we've done that stuff 3 years ago, and people were doing things 3 years ago, whether it be direction requests, whether it be reviews, whether it be whatever else people are doing with those GMBs. But I'm curious to know, because you clearly do a lot of testing, playing around, blowing things up. What sort of things have you seen change even over the last 3 years?
Probably the couple of main things seen change is it became harder, especially to fake stuff. One of the big issues I had, and you spoke about the phones earlier on, was the stage that worked really, really well for me, where I would age personas which weren't being used regularly. I would take, now I was doing walks at the time, to direction requests to places, trying to age as many accounts as possible. One of the major changes that I've faced is accounts that aren't being used consistently, not being able to make the edits or make adjustments which previously were. So one of the things people mentioned before was like the Holy Grail, and people mentioned like local guide score. Now I say it's a lot of nonsense, but even if I've got a local guide who's 8 or 9, if that account hasn't generally been used, has history, is performing searches, sending emails as a regular account would, a lot of the stuff that I would try to do previously, it just doesn't work. I know it's disappointing to say, but things have certainly got a lot harder to mimic real interactions. Some just basically what somebody by phone would actually do. So for manipulating GMBs, that's one of the main things that became a lot harder. Leads into fake reviews not sticking, accounts being pulled, edits not being submitted. All manipulation tactics for GMBs, essentially. So I'd say one of the main changes is it's got harder. A lot of previous tools, certain CTR tools, maybe not working as well as they did. So it's been a challenging couple of years trying to manipulate maps. I'll say that.
Actually, I had a few emails yesterday from email addresses that I've had for years, and it literally says something along the lines of, because you've not logged into this email for 2 years, they're wiping it. So clearly inactive accounts are just getting killed straight off the bat from Google anyway. But going back a wee bit, you're talking about, making the persona and the activity on there, make it look like it's a real person who's maybe getting emails every day, who's maybe doing different things every day. Like, what does that actually mean to the layman? Like, what level? Because I would call this kind of when someone asks me about this stuff, I'm like, this is next level freak show stuff. You know, these guys are nicking about with phones. Like we might be going out for an ice cream and he pulls out 5 phones and he's doing whatever. What is it you feel you have to do? Like, is it every week? Is it every month? How active do these accounts need to be?
Every day. And thank you very much for exposing me as being a sad bastard to bring his umpteen phones out for his dinner. But that's me, the honest truth of that, and the sad fact is, the reason I would do that is going out for dinner with your pals or doing direction questions, dwelling in a location. That's a real activity from a real persona, so I need to do that. I need to actually do that, and I get it, it's not something that is scalable, and that's one of the things why I would never sell it as a service, for example. I always use it for my clients I work with, where I would have these assets, which is incredibly handy for different brand reputation, we'll call it that. But having to actually mimic real interactions is the challenging part. Maybe so not much every day, but certainly if I don't log into an account for 2 weeks, and 2 weeks after that, like, Google knows why is this guy using his Google account for 5 minutes a month? Is that natural? Of course it's not natural. So I can't take the benefits of that account if I'm not truly nurturing that account. So,
but tell us what, like, when you log into this fucking phone, right? Tell me one of your persona names.
Willie Pearson Jr. A couple of different persona names.
Willie Pearson, right?
Willie Pearson.
We'll come to that story in a minute. But let's say you've got Willie Pearson's phone on you and you log in. What the fuck are you doing? Are you sending somebody else an email, or what are you calling activity? Are you nicking about on Facebook? What's happening?
I think I need to actually maybe tell, like, this is going to really put a bad light on me, but what I'm honestly, one of the things I like to do, and it is terrible, and I like to have 50 Uber Eats accounts. Because you get a tenner credit for every single Uber Eats persona you get. And if you're getting, there's different things you can do, obviously. So I use them for Uber Eats discounts, Just Eat discounts, having multiple accounts. But that's what a real person would do. My PT has set me on a hard challenge for the past couple of years of doing 12,000 steps a day. So that was one of the things that was handy, is taking phones out a walk with me. And that would be, I say, in terms of doing direction requests, but Uber Eats, I've got a problem.
You're no going out and doing 12,000 steps yourself and then going out with Willie Pearson and doing another 12,000?
Oh no, I'd have multiple phones on me at one time, just put in the backpack. What I would do is do a direction request to a location which I would walk to and essentially age that account. There's other things you can do. It's almost impossible to send emails from back and forth from the accounts, but I say in terms of aging the phone, in terms of history, locations, you can do a lot like that.
Is it the phone activity or the Gmail activity that you feel is the...
It's probably a mix of both. So, for example, in terms of the Gmail itself, the activity for that, I would have a large success with an account which has an ad spend on it. Mm-hmm. So, say, for instance, I ran a sub pay-per-click campaign on a particular account and didn't have as much local history. That account is trusted. Google sees I've given that the credit card details, I've spent money with it. Maybe I've got a workspace account, maybe I've done different transactions, even small transactions on the App Store. Try to be a natural person to age that account. So have I cracked exactly the combination? No, I wish I did, because it keeps on changing. It would certainly save me a lot of time, a lot of effort. But I like to say, just break it down, because I've tried all the different stuff, automation bits and pieces. And at the end of the day, I think being that sad person who does these walks, does this stuff, does these Uber Eats codes, that's a natural thing to do. So maybe it's not the best way. I'm not saying that I don't recommend them to do this, but in terms of aging the accounts, that's been the easiest way for me, and it's kept me fit as well.
Obviously, the guy does 12,000 steps a day, but amounts to fucking 60,000. I just hope you're not submitting to the PT, like, mate. I've done 60,000 steps a day, mate. No. But one thing I have seen you do, in fact, before we go there, see these phones, they'll all get their own individual SIM cards. Or are you running on Wi-Fi?
They're all individual SIM cards. Personally, for me, I've tried various different kinds of SIM cards. And the O2, for anybody else who's interested in this, the O2 Classic SIM for me is the best. For the sheer fact that you can put a tenner in it. It lasts 180 days. As long as you make a couple of calls, spend a bit of genuine data, you can top up again. So basically, each phone would only cost me £20 a year for data. So it's ideal. But these are real SIM cards, real phone numbers. They're not not all contracts, and they're not just tailored to a hotspot, which would be far easier.
Yeah.
But the way I see it, if I want to invest 20 quid per phone, I might as well do it properly.
Without mentioning any names of anything, but I've physically seen you going to places and being able to get a GMB or acquire a GMB using these aged accounts, with obviously the high local guide score and the history, and it looks like a real person. Having that, just a percentage, like a lot of people say, trying to get a GMB verified and all that kind of stuff. Obviously, people like yourself will say you've got to warm up that account and all that kind of stuff. Like, what percentage can you put on that? I know that you can't give a guaranteed, but for somebody watching this going, should I get phones, should I not? Like, how big are your chances increased of being able to pop more fake GMBs?
Massively.
Is it fucking 80% chance of doing it? You've got this kind of aged account with a phone that's doing all this activity all the time, or
It would be hard for me to say an exact percentage, but it would be significant, especially if the other factors are in place already. So, for instance, like if I really want a location, like I will make citations for that location a month in advance, make sure they're indexed before I even try it, because see, having the that mentions a bit of history about that location is advantageous. Have I had accounts where I don't even need to do that? Yes, I've made location suggested edits and had no history behind it, but that depends on how much I truly want the location. So the one we obviously did is a test, a bit of a laugh. That had no history.
Yeah.
Literally just made it based on the account. It's probably worth mentioning that IP massively helps. That I'm literally in close to that place. I'll have an IP of that location, and that really helps if being in that actual spot, longitude, latitude as well. So
talking about that and IPs, like obviously your phone's got like GPS in it, so your phone would know you were in, I don't know, Ibiza, for example. When you land and you turn your phone on and off, obviously your IP changes. So when you land in another country, your phone's getting a different IP address situated in that country, right?
Aye, you'll be getting an IP address from that location, from that mast, essentially. Yep. The same reason this came about, I can spoof location, so I could be in Ibiza and be here, but even if I spoof the location, I can fake being there. Everybody thinks I'm being there, but the IP address doesn't match. So actually being in the location is not always possible, of course, but if I can mimic as many real actions from that process of a real business try to do it, then it really does help. So to a varying degree, it's hard to give a percentage. I would be lying, but in my mind, if you age the account, real IP, real location, you've not hammered that account. When I mean I've not hammered that account, I've not got 20 locations fakers in that account, maybe one or two. Something I just mentioned, forgot to think about as well, is if I've got a domain name property and I have these assets in Search Console, in analytics, and it's obviously proof of ownership essentially, that ties the dots, man. It really helps as well to have that association. Not always possible, of course, but again, I just like to try and make as many positive signals that I can do before I make it. So
I've also heard people mention when they're doing these kind of fake accounts, get a G Suite account if you can. How important is that to you? Are you paying like the £10 a month or whatever a G Suite costs?
I'm not.
No,
I'm not. Probably too tight for that. To
I
be
was
fair,
gonna
too
say.
tight for that. No, so it's one of the more historical methods, I would say. It might have came with a bit of luck, where literally similar to what I mentioned earlier on. It's a real spend on a real account. Where I mentioned maybe App Store purchases or interactions with account. That again, buying a G Suite workspace account, whatever, is a real purchase.
Yeah.
So it probably is aided by that. I dare say it will work, but I like to try and bring as many other trust factors, in my opinion, into the mix for that location, because I want them to stay for the stuff I really care about, the stuff for particular clients. I need to be there. So if I build that foundation first, people don't like that because it's not instant. I need to get citations, get them indexed, get the stuff in my panel, do a few purchases, add a credit card number, which I need to generate, like all that stuff. It's a wee bit of build up, but I try to look at things a bit longer term than getting on my map slammed, lose them all at once. Have an individual account as well for that particular map, because I have heard horror stories, and I have people losing full accounts with all their GMBs in it. So that's never happened to me. But knowing that's happened to friends has made me a bit more meticulous in my map creation. I think I can put it that way.
Now, it's obviously not quite as easy as just going and charging out, getting yourself some phones, sticking a SIM card in it, and boom, 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 all these GMBs appear. There's still going to be GMBs that get suspended or banned or whatever it may be. Do you want to talk about this part?
Can we talk about that part?
Nah, we probably shouldn't talk about that part.
We can hint towards it.
Well, what I was going to say, like, if somebody watches this and they go, right, fucking, I've got these phones and I've done this, but I've set up a GMB and what you said works.
Yep.
Typically, I'm not going to say how many times. It obviously depends on various different circumstances, but what people tend to see is it pops,
yep,
then gets suspended, and Google are wanting some form of proof,
yep,
that you're a real person or a real business in that location. What are Google asking for currently? When that gets suspended, what are they saying to you? Is it a video outside your office? Is it documentation?
It's two forms of documentation. Typical would be like a telex bill and maybe like a tax bill or a council tax bill. So they are very particular with the name on the documents matching the map that you're trying to basically remove the suspension from. So that becomes difficult with maps you may have a keyword in, which is, again, mega beneficial for ranking them, but it's difficult to sometimes get them out of suspension if the documents do not match the name of the GMB. So typically two forms. This is when you're obviously reviving a suspension. Verification is a bit different. You will get your video verifications, you'll get your phone verifications, and you'll get your email verifications. Video is obviously difficult in certain circumstances. But for suspensions, it's two forms of proof of who the business actually is to match the GMB name, which a lot of people fall short on because they have the bill and it doesn't match the GMB name.
So just a hypothetical scenario here. I set up, Donald Duck Limited,
yep,
in a location, and it pops.
Do I try it?
And I get my GMB, it then gets suspended, and someone's saying, give me 2 utility bills. Like,
yep.
What happens next?
DM me on Facebook. There's different ways of doing that. Unfortunately, none of them are particularly on the white side of SEO. But it's thinking outside the box to get what is required. Or what, not say what's required, but what Google's looking at. Similar to the phones, what Google is looking for, and we need to get that. So once we've got that, it's the piece in the puzzle that makes things stick.
So just handing them what they're looking for.
Exactly, it's easy. That's what I think a lot of people overcomplicate stuff and talk about verification methods or whatever else, but literally if you read through some of the guidelines, what they're looking for, that all you're doing is ticking these boxes and not overcomplicating it, which I have been guilty of doing myself before.
So you do that, thing comes back, are you likely to get that again and again and again?
No, unless you have got somebody who is aggressively trying to shut you down. I've seen instances where certain niches might be more competitive and somebody has an issue with somebody who's continually reporting their map. That's a problem. But if it's just been triggered by Google's algorithm suspension, then generally once the documents and everything else is provided, then you're solid.
Fair enough. Now, there's a lot of myths and a lot of people talk about stuff that maybe worked 2-3 years ago. Can you tell us some of the stuff that was working that's not working now? Just so that, again, people watching can say, right, I've seen somebody saying this, and it might have only been 6 months ago, I don't know. But what was working really well that doesn't work right now?
Doesn't work right now. I don't want to diss any tools in particular, but
not even tools, but just like
things that maybe doesn't work or misconceptions. So standard stuff like posts. Now, posts is a good interaction with the map. I say doing your post, linking it to a blog, whatever else. I've tested this with different ranking tracking tools. It is great from actually a job to do or part of maintaining the map. Doesn't really make a big difference on actually ranking the map. Sending links to certain parts doesn't make a difference. but I have heard recently that CID does, but I haven't retested that, but I will, because a great example of something that maybe worked previously, stopped working, and then does work again. So I always would retest, and especially if I hear something that I want to know about it and try it, so I will be retesting that. CTR stuff from CTR tools from bad IPs, I mean, I'll call it that, or cheap IPs or just shit IPs, don't work for me. Where some of your traffic tools, CTR tools, potentially did work before, but if there's a solution where you would have a CTR tool which has solid, really good IPs, and that is going to help, they potentially work, but it's definitely not as easy as it was previously.
You talk about the tools. I don't want to mention any tools either, but there are tools that you can now, or people have been buying mobile proxies. Do you feel just having the mobile proxy is enough, or do you still think that GPS somehow has to be in that location as well?
It definitely helps.
Like, do mobile proxies,
mobile proxy is probably the best. Like, a local mobile proxy is probably the best. It's probably the top tier, the best you can get, especially if you're the proxy rig with actual individual SIMs in that location. It would be the best kind of IP. Not spoofing that with location is definitely going to help, but it would have to be in the same country.
Yeah.
It would be really, even if I spoofed, let's say, my map over to Dubai again, and I had a UK proxy, I potentially could get away with it, but it's not ideal. That's for sure. But that's when if I would really want that map in that location, then I would have all the historical stuff in place before I even tried to do the verification. But I would need a decent account for that. That's for sure.
Things that are no longer working, you've said there, some stuff, even linking to images, because I still hear people going, images is okay and all that kind of stuff. Are you saying don't link to nothing?
I'm saying test it. Do your own test. Find a donor. Give it a bash and see, because things do flip. In terms of things that's working, one of the biggest mistakes I see is people missing what I would call the basic essentials. I see it all the time. I could go into that if that's something you want me to touch on, or
I don't know. We can touch on it, but I love that word donor. I want to dig a bit into that.
Go for it.
When you say find a donor,
yep.
Are you reaching out to someone saying, mate, can I just try some mad shit out in your GMB? Or what does a donor mean? If
I'm giving free SEO services to a donor map, I don't think I need to reach out for that. I think I'm doing them a favour. So, but I say a donor, it would be a map in a position 15 to 20, which I would then track and then see if I can improve that map, almost as a challenge, because if they're ranking that poorly, there's nothing, even if the test maybe didn't go great, it wouldn't make any difference to that map anyway. And if it works, they've just got free SEO.
It wouldn't make any difference. So you've never seen testing something that...
Position 15, you're dead to me.
Yeah, fair enough. Anyway, going back to the thing we mentioned just there, where you're like, do you want me to touch on it?
Oh, the most common things I've seen as mistakes?
Yeah.
Not filling out the profile properly. One of the things that I'm a big fan of and really helps, again, this goes back to what I was saying before about kind of making associations, embedding your map on your website. You're literally making a connection between the map profile and your website. Get that map embedded on your site. Will it be in the footer of the page, on the contact us page? Get that embedded somewhere. Mm-hmm. Also great for trust factor as you build up the reviews, because obviously it displays the reviews location within the map when it's embedded on the site. So actually connecting these two assets together, I think, is incredibly important. Such a simple thing, dead easy to do. All the time, I see people have various maps and there's no mention of these maps or no embedded these maps on the website. Another thing as well, having the wrong main category. I always say check who's winning, what category. Mm-hmm. There's so many categories have subcategories. So, say for instance, plumbing and heating, a generic plumbing and heating. So there could be one for new boiler installation. There could be one for leaks and repairs. There could be one for, new radiators. But again, I would look at the main categories of the competitor I want to beat and make sure the main category matches. Again, so obvious, but if I'm wanting to rank for new boiler installation, I'm not going to have my profile as being generic to a plumber. I would look for the exact profile, what's been rewarded. Keeping the map, all the details on it up to date. Again, like if your hours change, update on the map. I know I said posts don't really move the needle, in my opinion they don't, but again, posting updates on the map just to show it's been used is probably good from an interaction standpoint.
Yeah.
Like description, like this is like for me it's such a small thing, but don't just copy and paste your website description, print your map, like write an individual description, make it unique. Things like that, and just generally having your details on your map accurate. I see it so often, like no embed, wrong hours, wrong phone number. They've still got the old HTTP address, not the S. Just wee things. Just updating the profile. The description's been copy and pasted. So wee things like there's a lot more than that. But I say if you focus on getting
the basics done, right?
Get the basics out. It's going to really help. So I'll definitely start there. That's for sure.
Also, as somebody who works in SEO, what's your opening hours look like on a map listing? Is it like 24 hour?
Well, I'm 10 till 2, so I don't know if everybody else's is. But there was an argument before that this is different, but like 24 hours was being rewarded. So if you were searching for a company 8 at night and that company's 24 hours, you would be rewarded. I don't see as much as that now, but I would say just keep your numbers accurate. The ones that are on your citations, the ones that are on your website, keep everything as accurate as possible. So you don't want somebody consistent. You don't want anybody turning up your office and you're closed. That's a bad review. Like this guy says he's open until 5 o'clock and it's 3:30. I want my haircut. He's gone. Like it's instant bad review. So again, so basic, so simple. But a lot of times before when I'm doing a map audit or I'm looking to improve a map, some easy wins for me there. Incredibly simple, and that's before you get to all the fakery and all the messing about, but you just want to get the fundamentals in place, and then they can do that.
Aye. So when you're doing all this, what are you using to track your map listings?
Local Falcon.
I
love it.
I'm a user of Local Falcon as well. I think it's a great one, but obviously just to monitor the situation, what's going on. Which we're going to jump on to something that many people have spoken about, whether it works, whether it doesn't, and all that kind of stuff. Reviews, fake reviews.
Yep.
We seen probably, maybe was it about a year ago, where we started to see all of the kind of fake reviews disappearing. Not even just fake reviews. I had loads of reviews from years ago, and a lot of them get called not from fake people.
It was very aggressive.
I don't know if it was just old accounts that no longer were used to give those reviews at the time have just been wiped out, and those reviews are gone. Is that how that went? How did that work?
Pretty much went like that. So the way I can understand that particular call was, again, if a particular account, real account, and that person is absolutely real, got a real account, hasn't used that profile for a period of time, hasn't built up a bit of credibility in that account, Google was really aggressive with wiping that particular account or that review. So that's why people were frustrated, because they lost genuine reviews. It also called a lot of fake reviews. And this might sound like a strange thing to say, but fake reviews absolutely work. But it's finding a vendor with actual really solid accounts to provide it. So obviously I'd done a lot of that, my phone bits and pieces myself, and that's why I'm saying I'm glad I never didn't sell this, because a lot of the reviews I would have placed were gone as well. From that standpoint, then that would have been pretty frustrating. And they do work, and there will be some good vendors out there. But in terms of, I say, longevity, not having to worry about them being called, then I would say try and make stuff as real as possible. Which did lead me to the few cards I went full circles.
-cards.co.uk.
I think that's the website.
Aye, that's the website. So I want to show you this, and then we'll talk about it. So that is a review card, which is an NFC card. So you tap that in the back of somebody's phone, and it'll come up saying website NFC tag, which I'm going to click, and it then prompts me to give a review. Now, obviously, it says Craig Campbell. That's me. I can give that particular person a 5-star review, type in what I want, add a photo, boom, job done. Now, obviously, for any business, whether it's fake, not fake, getting real reviews seems to be horrific. I think what was we used to give people a URL. There was a tool that gave you the URL that you would share to someone, which you would say to somebody, can you leave me a review? Here you go. And you would hope that that person buggered off and looked at their email and left you a review. But no one does. People are crazy, or they'll forget, or they don't know how to leave a review. So this tapping on someone's phone whilst they're there and making them leave a review is a perfect way to do that. Now, I'll give you a funny story, actually. In Dubai, of all places, I was checking out a hotel, and the guy's like, can I see your booking.com, your booking.com app to check your booking? I'm like, what's he doing this for? Like, I paid when I went to the hotel, so I paid, he had my card, I'm just checking out, I'm trying to go and catch a flight. So he's grabbed my phone, he's looking at the app. I didn't know if there was some fucking thing that he had to see or whatever. And I seen him starting to fucking type in my phone. I grabbed my phone, I'm like, what are you fucking doing? It's like, I need to leave myself a review. And I'm like, mate, you're not leaving a review of your hotel. I says, if you want a review, I'll give it, a review, but ask me or prompt me or whatever it may be. Don't fucking just take my phone and start leaving yourself a review. But that's how desperate people were to get a real review from a real phone, from a real person, rather than it would have been much easier just to tap the phone and say, Craig, how did you enjoy your stay? Go and leave me a review.
First thing, I love that guy's approach, man.
It was interesting.
I like that approach.
When you start typing, you're like, fucking, what's happening there?
That's definitely different. I do like that. That's definitely different. I think that does come from a genuine pain point, and I think various campaigns I've been on, I say we would send out the short code, we would ask reviews, we would put it maybe at the bottom of the final invoice or the bottom of the email once whatever's been completed with a particular client, ask for reviews, even retarget them in a week later saying, well, we've done a great job, can you leave a review? And you just get pied constantly. Now, of course, there would be a couple that would trickle through, but the problem would come where we needed genuine review velocity to beat somebody, or had a competitor we needed to try and outrank, or we wanted numbers up, and it became really, really difficult. And I think as well, even in face-to-face situations with certain clients, when you'd ask for them, they would say they would do it, they wouldn't do it. It actually brings me back to school. It reminds me of the amount of knockbacks I got in school at country dancing. It was just constant knockback. Or just people lied to me. They'd say, I will leave a review, and they didn't do it. And I think that's where, I was putting myself in my head, because I'm thinking, right, okay, these email campaigns aren't working great. The phone reviews, it's not something I can rely on, because I know there's going to be another review call. There's only so many accounts I can do. What else can I do? And it dawned on me, and this is similar to I mentioned, the simple things about the maps. Shit, I can get an NFC card, program the link. When you're standing right in front of somebody, I have never been, and I say this confidently, I have never been knocked back for a review when I'm standing in front of somebody. I think as well, generally say, can you unlock your phone and give me a review? People are brand new. And you already know that person has had a positive experience, because you wouldn't be asking for the review if they didn't have a positive experience. So again, implementing that through my different client campaigns and pushing them out across, and it's been working really, really well. And that's what led me to basically selling them. Because I was using them for my clients, thinking, shit, this has actually worked. Perfect case study, because I have had the opportunity to test it in so many different niches, track the rankings, see it pop, have it all documented, and go, listen, I can now sell something which is incredibly inexpensive, which works. And that was a great feeling. It makes it easier for me. And it feels strange from a guy who's doing so much fake stuff, fake engagement, all these kind of more dark things, to then come up with the most white hat thing you've ever seen in your life. I actually felt.
So do you feel, though, even tapping that, so let's say somebody comes here to leave me a review, do you feel that somebody tapping this and their GPS is in my location is useful as well? So Google are going, right, that person has clearly been in that building.
Being in the area helps, but you can get reviews even if you're out with. So there'll be certain circumstances.
So let's say I'm 2 miles north of here, and up playing golf or something, and I'm out fucking networking and whatever, and I'm going, hey, mate, give me a review and all that. You think that'll still stick?
100%. As long as the account's genuine, solid, it will. Think about it from maybe a tradesman who's working lots of different locations. These are going to be Glasgow or Scotland IPs. They're going to be real people, real accounts. That's why I go back to like the actual strength of these accounts. I say strength of the account. Is the phone generally being used?
Yeah.
Is that person going on BBC website, spending a bit of time looking at the weather, sending an email, genuine activities? And if you are that kind of person, a real phone, that's why I say these accounts work so well. And tradesmen in different places wouldn't have problems with accounts. So no, I've never had any issues with that. That's for sure.
And what does one of these cost?
$14.99. $14.99. Unlimited usage as well.
Unlimited.
I asked that question the other day, and
like, can I use it 20 times?
It's actually maybe my fault, because this is one thing I've not took for granted. Is I know all about this. A lot of people don't, and one of the things is to say, like, well, what actually is this? How's it work? And again, they ask me, is it unlimited usage? I'm like, shit, I've not answered that question. Yes, it is. It's literally a URL string that I program it into the card to your business. Then you tap it, it pops up, and obviously goes straight to the 5 stars. So unlimited usage. Just don't lose it. Well, I hope you do lose it. Actually, you can buy more, but but unlimited.
A shameless plug there. But what if somebody's get 10 clients and they go, fuck, I'm doing a lot of GMB shit here, but it'd be better if they, maybe somebody coming in to see them, or a tradesman out and about or whatever was getting the reviews themselves. Can you buy like a pack of 10 for odd 10 different clients?
It goes up in increments, so it's like I've got like packs of 2, 3, 5, 10, 15 and 20, so it's significantly reduced the more you buy.
But it could be like 10 for 10 different clients.
Oh, absolutely. Everyone's individually programmed.
Right.
So to that particular map or whatever they're trying to boost. So if it was, and it's not uncommon, so say from like a national auto glass installer, for example, they've got tons of different warehouses. They would do 20 different cards, or maybe 5 cards for each location, whatever, and each one is completely individual to that location, what they're trying to boost reviews for, which is super handy.
Any other tips around reviews for getting? So it's all good and well. Now we can get reviews using this. What does a person write in a review? There's people said in the past, stick keywords in the review and all that stuff. Is that a load of old shite? Or
no, if you can. So this is a difficult one, because the first thing I always say is get the review. Even if it's just blank 5 stars, it helps, great. If you have somebody who you can request, put some keywords in there, absolutely. So you get location as well. Say you're trying to boost a car windscreen replacement in Aberdeen. You say, oh, thanks to me, Johnny, for my car windscreen replacement in Aberdeen. Like, that would be amazing. It'd be great, but it's not always possible. So I wouldn't. Really, really helps. But again, it's sometimes if it's hard enough getting the review, depending on the person you're dealing with, I try not to overcomplicate it. Generally, the most things, just do me a favour, go and unlock your phone, say nothing. Don't take the phone off you like the guy at booking.com.
I'm going, fuck, who's he messaging my phone?
That would be great. But absolutely, if keywords can be stuffed into review, and location, I need to mention location as well, that absolutely helps, definitely. And the service.
Any other tips?
Not that I can see here.
Not that we can see here. Maybe send them a message. The link for this is below. If you do want to check out review cards, which clearly help massively, and I think trying to get real reviews is better than paying some dudes, I don't know, 10 quid a review, and they're going to get
it's 40.
smacked.
It's 40.
40?
40, man, 40. That's the good ones, but that's the good ones. That's the good ones.
But they can't be any better than getting a real one.
Can't be better than a real one.
So, it's obviously up to yourself what you want to do, but I think these cards do go well. Not that many people are actually aware of them just now,
That's
are
the
they?
problem. It's awareness and actually talking about it has been a bit of an issue. Because you don't know what it is. Aye, that's why we're here today. Actually, thank you for having me.
Share some nuggets and talk about this as well, because I think genuinely it does help, and it's cheap. So
definitely, and that's what makes it easy, because it's genuine, cheap.
But there was something I wanted to ask you, and I can't remember what it was. Oh man,
I'm scared.
the country dancing thing.
Oh, country dancing
thing. You're saying
Okay,
you're getting a lot of
knockbacks.
knockbacks for the country
That's
dancing.
kind of what it reminded me of. It's like literally all these times you're saying that these like email campaigns, different review tactics to collect them.
I don't know what I want to know more about the country dancing knockbacks. Like, what was your approach?
I was an ugly duckling, man. I've had a lot of work.
I know, but what were you saying? Like, will you dance with me? And they were like, no, fuck off. Like, how did that
honestly,
work?
no, I had a proxy. So you get your pal up to ask you and say, listen, do you want to dance with my pal? Do you want to nip my pal? And normally it was no. No, I don't. I was brutal, man. School was hard.
So you got a pal to say, do you want to dance with my pal at the country dancing?
Right, we cut this off. This is it.
No, this has gone in there.
This is going in there.
Getting to know Slorry. So you get your pal to do it.
You ask your pal, listen, do you want to nip my pal? And,
No, I don't know the nipping thing. Just
That's
the country dancing part.
It's hard. That's what it reminds me of. The amount of knockbacks is unbelievable. Saying too much.
Saying too much. I thought I was bad at school, but even in country dancing, I still went up to whoever it was. But I was always last because I was shy, so I'd always get the last one standing.
The last one standing.
I just had to take what I was given because I was too shy to go up and get the good-looking lassie of the class or whatever. So, but I never get my pal to do that part. But fair play. But anyway, thanks for building my chair, mate.
Thanks for having me on. Great.
So that was Mark Slorance. If you're interested in anything that Mark Slorance had to say, you can contact him using the links below if you want to get in touch. And if you want those review cards, the link for those as well is also below. They're good and handy to be making sure you get those reviews.